Hello and welcome to the Solano College Sports Network. I'm Zion Trammell, and today I'm joined by Trey Hunt, and we are going to be talking about COVID-19 and the NBA, and we're going to be talking about the bubble, player predictions, and team predictions as well for the upcoming season. We've already gotten some scrimmages already, gotten some first looks at players coming back after about 4 months off from basketball. So, Trey, we'll start with how this whole thing started back in March when Rudy Gobert got the coronavirus, suspended, caused the NBA to suspend their season. And since then, there's been quite a few players that have had COVID-19 or so currently have it. Got players like, obviously, Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, DeAndre Jordan, Spencer Dinwiddie, Eric Bledsoe. The list goes on. So, Trey, I wanted to get your thoughts on when Rudy Gobert got the coronavirus. Just what were your first initial thoughts when this whole thing started back in March?
Well, I was definitely just not as frustrated, but definitely frustrated as Donovan Mitchell was when he seen how little of care he gave when he knew he was not feeling well. He had it, and he didn't take it seriously, and he was just spreading it all across the mic in the press conference and all that stuff. So I believe now is a totally different time. Like back then, people weren't taking it seriously. They're like, "Oh, I shouldn't wear a mask" and stuff like that. But now you see people walking around, it's mandatory. You see people wear masks in and outside of the restaurants or wherever you go. And I feel like if that's us in that's just regular people out here. Then the NBA players, when they have to take different precautions, I believe that they're taking it way better than they did back then. And now with being inside the bubble, I feel like you have to because you don't want to lose what you've already lost for 4 months.
Yeah, and we'll get into the bubble as well in a little bit. And yeah, I think for me it was definitely shocking at first to see the NBA suspending their season. I was at work and I was watching the Mavericks and the Nuggets play, and it was the last basketball game that we had. And it was definitely all just came in at once. It was really shocking. And now it's just for a player to get the coronavirus, it just seems kind of normal now. And I mean, this coronavirus team would be pretty nasty with Westbrook, Mitchell at the shooting guard. You got Katie at small forward, put Jokic at power forward, and Rudy Gobert at center. That would be a pretty nasty COVID-19 lineup. But
they could definitely knock out the Magic in the first round.
Yeah, definitely win some games. But yeah, it's definitely just it's evolved so much, and glad to see the results from the most recent league-wide COVID-19 test, seeing that there were no players that have it that got tested positive, and that's obviously really good news. We've seen some players leave the bubble, such as Zion Williamson, Patrick Beverly, Rashawn Holmes being really not being smart at all and crossing the line to get some fast food. Just a couple of the struggles the Kings are going through right now. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see that there's no positive tests right now.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, people are taking it more seriously now, and for Rashawn Holmes to do what he did and to leave the bubble because he needed food when they already provide food there, it showed types of immaturity. But they're doing better now, and players are getting more cleared, and it's just good to see that nobody tested positive. That's currently in there.
Yeah, and it's really good that we're finally getting sports back. Baseball started on Thursday. We're getting scrimmages now for basketball. The season will start on July 30th with the Lakers and the Clippers, I believe. And yeah, so I'm really excited that we're going to have sports, and hopefully everyone is responsible. So let's move into our next thing with our expectations for players. There's obviously a tight MVP race. Obviously, what the league decided to do is that how they're going to determine the awards is based off their play up until March 13th or whatever the league decided to suspend its season. So how they play right now has nothing to do with their MVP case. So LeBron James and Giannis are obviously the high or the two top candidates for MVP, and it's going to be talked about a lot as to who should win MVP. And Trey, what do you think as far as who do you think should win MVP this season?
I definitely believe it's a debate between two different awards. I really believe when you talk about Giannis, you're talking about the most dominant player. As you've heard on ESPN, they talk about how dominant he is, and just all around the floor when it comes to offense and defense, and just making an impact on the game. But we all know how LeBron makes an impact as well, not just on the game, but like on the effect of his teammates on and off the court, and just how he keeps everybody in line, basically, just to be successful. It's like leading in the assists over Giannis is huge to me because as he gets everyone else better, the team gets better, and he's like they have the number one team in the West compared to being the number one team in the East, where when LeBron was there, everything was less. But now since he's gone, then they feel like the East is all even out now, and they saying it's better now. So I always think Giannis is going to be Giannis. Giannis is dominant when he's getting his points that he's just dunking and laying it up and just pushing people out of his way. And rebounding and his blocks, he just gets better every year. But with LeBron, it just feels like when he is at his peak level, then everybody else's stats rises with him. So I believe that's the most value. Take it out, then everybody's points go down. But I feel like you take Giannis out of that equation, then their points go up because he does so many of it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that one. I think Giannis is the MVP, most dominant player. I think LeBron is the MVP, but I also have a feeling that they might just go with Giannis. You know, there's the theory that different players have to win MVP, with Westbrook and Harden and then Giannis. But I think LeBron should win it. We compare the stats. LeBron averaging about 26 points per game, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. Giannis at 30 points per game, 14 rebounds and 6 assists. So Giannis does have some advantages in the scoring and rebounding category, but I think LeBron is definitely more valuable to the Lakers. And given what they're doing right now in a very loaded Western Conference, that, oh, by the way, has not depleted because the Warriors aren't good. I can't believe that that's even talked about, that the Western Conference isn't as good because the Warriors aren't as dominant. I mean, Clippers upgraded a ton. So did the Jazz, the Thunder, the Rockets. I mean, the Mavericks are playing well. Grizzlies. I mean, there's no reason that to me is just a lame reason to downplay what LeBron has done this season. He's been absolutely spectacular. He's easily the best player on that Lakers team.
Yeah,
And
definitely. And the West has not lost a step. I mean, they lost a Steph. They have not lost a step. And
yeah,
but there's so many elite players in the West, and you can see how. Look at how compared to the West, how many teams are fighting for that 8th spot compared to the East. You have like one team fighting for that 8th spot with the Wizards, and it's like it's just not as good. And it's always going to be like that because so many the teams that the locations you can play in the West, like LA, you can play in the Bay, you can play just in just so many different places, and it's just better over here.
yeah. I mean, the Magic are probably going to get that 8th seed. I don't see the Wizards fighting for that. But yeah, you have the Nets as the 7, the Magic at the 8. And the net, we all know what the Nets are going to look like when they return. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be pretty bad for the Nets because they won't have KD, they won't have Kyrie, Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan. I mean, they're really depleted on that roster.
They picked up Jamal Crawford, but he's not able to carry a team.
No, not at all. And so, obviously, there's going to be a third candidate for MVP. Looking at Luka Doncic, who is totally elevated his game from winning Rookie of the Year to now averaging almost 30 points a game. He's almost averaging a triple-double, which is really spectacular, while also averaging 30 points. And I think James Harden as well, with him and averaging, he leads the league in scoring, and he can constantly drop 30, 40, 50-point games, and no one's going to talk about it because it's so expected of him. So we'll see. I think it's to me, it's either going to be Luka or Harden for that third MVP spot to vote, but I don't think either of them will really have a chance.
Yeah, I definitely have Luka in that third spot, and also James Harden. They try to put Anthony Davis in that conversation too because how his numbers look and how they're almost better than LeBron, almost easy because AD's averaging 8 rebounds AD's averaging 9 rebounds and 3 assists, and his numbers are just as good. And his block numbers are up there with 2.5 blocks. So they talk about AD too, but Luka has just been carrying that team when he's on the court. So I know he's been nicked a little bit this season, but Luka on the court is just he brings a more smooth presence the same way that Harden does. Harden will like really fight and try to and you'll see like his travel sometimes. But Luka's has a more smoother game and his scoring looks more like art.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Mavericks are definitely a better team. Obviously, with him on the court, the offense runs better. And he obviously brings so many points to that team. And not just the MVP race; it's going to be tight. We also got the Rookie of the Year, a very interesting thing between Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. I know Zion Williamson's hardly played. I think it should go to Ja Morant, but let's not forget that when Zion Williamson did play for the Pelicans, he really took the league by storm. I mean, he had everyone's attention. The Pelicans were playing the Spurs, a game that really had no significance, but Zion Williamson was playing, and the whole world was watching him. So I think Zion Williamson's had more of an impact on the NBA, but I think Ja Morant absolutely should win MVP, not MVP, Rookie of the Year, given he has that team as the 8th seed.
Yeah, when it comes to that conversation, I feel like it's so easy to me that it's Ja Morant. It's like if we're talking about Zion for Rookie of the Year, then we might as well talk about Kawhi for MVP. It's like if you miss games, and Kawhi's missing games by choice. Zion was actually hurt trying to get his body back together. But I mean, that's what Kawhi does when he misses games. He tries not to get hurt and stuff like that. But Kawhi's not in the MVP conversation, and we know how good he is when he's playing. He's dominant, but Ja has been consistent all year long and carrying that Grizzlies team. And as a core, they're a nice team. And Zion, he's just so a different presence. But he's been like that since high school. He's been the most watched, and everyone's craved the presence he brings to the court. And that's why he signed with Jordan, so he just be more flashy and everything. And you see how he jumps out the arena. So I mean, Zion is definitely has the potential to have a better career, but Ja is definitely the Rookie of the Year for this year. And they have to know that just because he wins Rookie of the Year this year doesn't mean he's going to be a better career. Has a better career than Zion down the road. So they shouldn't make the choice on potential-wise. It's just this year.
Yeah, and I think we could have a different conversation if Zion plays the whole year, but that's obviously not the case. Ja Morant played. He has his team playing pretty well. They just have a really tough schedule, so it's going to be tough for them to hold on to that 8 seed with the Trailblazers, with the Trailblazers, Pelicans, and Kings. They're on their tail. I think it's going to be tough for the Grizzlies because they have the toughest schedule in Orlando. So hopefully, we'll see if they can maintain that 8th seed. But either way, doesn't devalue or doesn't undercut what Ja Morant's been able to do this season, because he's been nothing but spectacular. So let's move into our next topic here. We're talking about the bubble. So obviously there's been a lot of conversations going on whether it's safe, whether it's going to be effective, because this is likely to go on till about or it actually will go till about mid-October when we have the finals. We go up to October 13th, which is quite a long time to stay in the bubble. I think personally, it's obviously been effective so far. It's worked out great. We've seen a lot of cool perspectives from the players. Like JaVale McGee posting vlogs on YouTube and stuff, and we've seen different players showing off the food and what they've been doing, playing golf, playing spike ball, whatever. It's really fun to see these players off the court and kind of learn. I think it's such a unique situation where we're probably not going to have something like this ever again. And I think these players are a part of history right now. So I think it's really been a cool experience, just to watch. And I can't imagine, what it would be like inside. Definitely be interesting. Um, but I think the NBA, Adam Silver's done a great job of ensuring the players' safety and making sure they're constantly getting COVID-19 tests and making sure that everyone's healthy so we can play basketball without bringing the coronavirus cases.
Yeah, Adam Silver has done a great job just keeping the flow, like, and getting our basketball back on TV because he could have just shut it all down and said, no, we're not coming back until COVID's all gone, which basically is just, I mean, if you want to say that this is the smartest thing to do, but people who care about sports are not going to say that. They're going to say, what's the best way we could do this the safest way? So the best way we could do it is put them in the bubble, and it's been working out, and it's been helping the fans get excited to see that it's a sport that we can actually watch and to see the outcome because it's the only sport that's in playoffs right now. So it's the most critical time because baseball just started, football just took out their preseason games. They don't know what they're gonna do, and just in the WNBA just started. So basketball is where it's at right now, and I think that the bubble is the way that they have it set up is leading for success, especially with the test, like you said. They're testing them every day. I mean, they're testing them constantly, and it's just I don't see it falling through unless someone messes it up.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, we've seen players have to leave because of family matters or whatever, and I think for these players, I think they should all recognize that they need to hold everyone accountable because if they do leave the bubble for some silly reason, if it's a family matter, then obviously that's totally understandable. But if you do something like what Rashawn Holmes did, well, now he has to quarantine, and depending on when they do that during the season, they would have to miss time, and especially the top players for each team, they do that. Now you're costing your team games. So I think for them, it's important that they all hold each other responsible and make sure that they stay healthy and they don't put themselves at risk of getting the coronavirus because you don't have a lot of time. You only have 8 regular season games, then it's playoff basketball. So they got to make sure that they're doing the right things right now and taking the necessary measures to stay safe. And it's good so far that there have been no new coronavirus cases from this bubble. Yeah. So there's obviously a lot more Western Conference teams in the bubble. And Trey, what do you think about family/guests of teams arriving? That starts on August 30th. I'm not sure if that's the best idea, bringing in new people to the bubble. Maybe they might not fall through with it, but
Yeah, when you do that, you're taking a chance of just exposing people to stuff that's been outside. Even though you test them, it's just like I just don't see the point. It's just like you might as well have tested them in the beginning, let them be there with their families the entire time. But it's like, I mean, it's best to just keep everybody separate. In order, you're just taking a less chance of anything bad happening. And if you do that, I believe that the season will continue to go on as you want it to. But when you take chances and try to get people happy just by seeing their family, I mean, you get it. Like you want to see your daughter, you want to see your kids and your wife, but it's like you're bringing the money home, and you want to be able to keep doing that by playing on the floor.
Yeah, and another cool thing is we've seen more players get opportunities now, like Jamal Crawford, like you said, going to the Nets. J.R. Smith with the Lakers as well. Did he just recently join the Lakers?
Huh?
Might have. I believe Deion Waiters might have just joined the Lakers as
Yeah,
well.
he made a few threes in that Mavericks game.
Yeah. So it's also good to see the old veterans get some more opportunities and get those chances. So we'll move into our final segment, which is team predictions. Now, obviously, we're going to have a finals prediction as well, and we're going to talk about some sleepers and teams we might not be sold on. So I think we'll start with some sleepers in the Eastern Conference. I guess I'll go first. I think a team that we talk about the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics. I think the Miami Heat is definitely a team that could definitely be dangerous in the playoffs. You look at a team with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who are obviously and a fantastic duo together. Jimmy Butler's been fantastic. Bam Adebayo, a potential most improved player candidate. And you also have players that can knock down the three, like Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson, with Kendrick Nunn, who had a good start to the year, Goran Dragic, and Andre Iguodala. So this is a team with a lot of depth and as well as some veteran leadership with guys that know how to get it done in the playoffs, such as Iggy, Butler, and Dragic. So I think that's a team we could be watching out for in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I like the Heat. I always like people like Jimmy Butler who fight for everything they had in life. It's just keep fighting no matter how even if you get there, you keep fighting and you keep making a point. That's why he couldn't deal with the 76ers no more because they wasn't taking it seriously and be playing around too much, and Ben Simmons not working on his craft. Because you see, when you're a basketball player and you have like so much money and you haven't been able to find your shot yet, like what are you doing to do that? And Jimmy Butler was able to see that they're not working hard enough to get better over there. And to see how he has that Heat team going with all the young guys, and then with Bam and just everyone on that team, it's just the way he has that team. I think they can make a good run. I think they can give any team a run because the defense presence they have as a team, as a unit, is definitely up there. I think them and the Celtics are the ones who can challenge Giannis the best.
Yeah, and I think a team I'm not necessarily sold on is Philadelphia, who sits as the sixth seed. I think if they play Boston first round, um, I think they would lose first round. Jason Tatum yesterday, he didn't play so hot, and my friend who's a Ben Simmons fan, talking about, and obviously Tatum and Simmons are compared a lot, and he was talking about how bad Tatum was playing. And at the same time, I mean, I think you mentioned it, that he hadn't played and picked up a basketball in a few months, and this is
Yeah.
also a scrimmage game. Players are shaking off the rust.
Yeah, he hasn't played in a while, and that's what sucks because he was in Boston with all that snow and wasn't able to put up any shots or anything. So it just showed he was able to get that rust off in his scrimmage game, and that's good because when the real games start, they're not going to give you an opportunity to get that rust off.
Yeah, and I still really like what Boston has with Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum. And obviously the Sixers, Simmons and Embiid, they're a good duo. Simmons is a great defender. Embiid is one of the most dominant centers. But up to this point, I feel like they've had so many issues with injuries and just, a little bit of drama. And I'm not really sure if this team's going to pull through like everyone expected because they had such high expectations for them. And so we'll see what happens. Another team I'm not really sold on is the Rockets. Russell Westbrook for me is not really a guy that I see as an excellent postseason player. I see him more of as a regular season player, and I feel like them not having a center is going to hurt them.
Yeah, in the West, that's going to destroy you. I mean, you could probably beat a team once, like how when the Rockets first met, they made that trade and got rid of Capella, and they played the Lakers and they beat them. Like that's one time, but if you have to play a team 7 times, it's not going to work out because Anthony Davis is going to beat down on you. Jokic is going to beat down on you, and just even Montrez is going to beat down on because their center is PJ Tucker, and he's 6'7", 6'6", and Montrez is 6'9", which is small for a center. And the way that, everybody knows how Montrez plays, and Montrez plays. They would just dominate the Rockets, and we know Harden and Westbrook. They get criticized every single year for their playoff performances. So they have to make that change this year.
Yeah, he got outplayed by Lillard last postseason. I think when you look at, and you're right. I mean, the big men in the West, you have AD on the Lakers, the Clippers. You got Harrell. It's going to be hard to guard Kawhi and Paul George. The Nuggets with Jokic, the Jazz with Gobert, the Thunder with Steven Adams, and the Mavericks with Porzingis and Maxi Kleba and Boban, and the Grizzlies with Jaren Jackson. There's a lot of good big men in the Western Conference. I think especially if the Rockets play the Nuggets, it's going to be hard to guard Jokic and Bol, who just went off, and obviously that team has a lot of depth. So
yeah.
So to wrap things up, Trey, I want to get your finals prediction, your Western and Eastern Conference Finals predictions, and then the NBA Finals predictions.
Okay. So in the East, we have the Bucks, the Raptors, and the Celtics, and the Heat. Those are my 4 top teams. So I believe, those are the 4 top teams in the East as well. And I really believe that the Celtics core and how they're coaching will get them to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I'm not sleeping on the Raptors. Pascal Siakam has been great this year, and I believe that their unit with Kyle Lowry can do a lot of great things. But I believe that the Celtics as a unit they have been good, and they'll be able to find ways to beat that team. But when it comes to Giannis, I believe Giannis is going to take another step this year. And since Kawhi is gone, if someone's able to knock out the Heat before they get to see them, then I believe that the Bucks will get to the finals. Because I believe if the Heat and the Bucks meet in the conference finals, then there's going to be a good matchup to see. But I got the Bucks in the finals, and then when it comes to the West, I definitely have the Lakers and Clippers in the conference finals. And then I feel confident saying the Lakers will win in 7. But if the Clippers just have their number so far this year, and it's tough to see. Like I've seen the Clippers bully them most of the time, but when in a 7-game series, I believe toughness will really come out, and like who can last longer. And I'm pretty sure the Lakers can last longer. I believe the Clippers will get broken down and not be able to keep that momentum going. And when it comes to Lakers and Bucks, I believe after seeing the Lakers play the Bucks that last time before the season got shut down, and the way that they were able to at least slow down Giannis, I got the Lakers in 6 in that one because I don't think Giannis has that final experience yet. So I got the Lakers in 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with you on that. I think the Western Conference Finals, you got Lakers, Clippers. We don't know what's going to happen with Beverly and Montrezl Harrell. I still like the Lakers going to the finals regardless. LeBron and AD, I think for me, it's like betting against Brady. It's so hard to do. And it's like, I want to do it. So I'm like, okay, this will be the year that, maybe the Lakers, or this will be the year, the Clippers pass the Lakers and LeBron would crumble. But I think it's hard to bet against LeBron. I don't care about the finals record. Played some great Warriors teams. LeBron shows up in the playoffs, and he is literally a different beast. So I'm going to take the Lakers to go to the finals. And for the Eastern Conference, I'm going to have a little bit difference in opinion on this one. I'm going to go Bucks Raptors. I believed in the the Raptors from the beginning. I had a feeling that they were going to be fine without Kawhi. Pascal's stepped up into a leadership role. You have Van Vliet, Kyle Lowry, uh, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, and Norman Powell has even had some good games this year. So I'm going to go Bucks Raptors Eastern Conference Finals, and I think the Bucks will win that series, and we'll have a Lakers Bucks Finals. I know that is such a bold prediction, but I'm going to go.
That would be a great finals though with Lakers and Bucks. I feel like Lakers and Bucks or Lakers and Celtics would be a great finals. I feel like we're gonna get a good finals regardless because I don't think the teams are that far off from each other. I feel like everyone's pretty even, like all the way around at the top positions. I don't think the bottom teams are even, but like at the top, I believe that people are even.
Yeah, I mean, it's really up for grabs right now. You know, we really don't know what's going to happen, how players are going to play, if they're going to still shaking off the rust to start. You know, we'll see what happens. But I think the Lakers are going to win the finals. LeBron gets that fourth ring. And we can all forget what JR did in the 2018 finals, and JR could get another ring under his belt. And I think
finally get a ring.
Yeah, I think the Lakers will fall through and get the finals win. So Trey,
that makes it better though, because when you had the Warriors, you already knew they were going to make it every single year, but now you just don't know.
Yeah, it's been great this season knowing that we're not going to have a Warriors-Cavs finals, and you know we're having a little bit of the league kind of feels balanced again. You know, with KD leaving, and we have this a real fight to the finals for sure between some of the top teams, and I can't wait for NBA playoffs. I'm excited because I'm a Mavericks fan just to see Luka and Porzingis in the playoffs. I can't wait to see all the Bleacher Report posts about Luka when he literally can just make a layup and he'll get posts on Twitter. So I'm excited for the NBA playoffs. Can't wait. Sports is finally back. That's a great thing to hear. We also heard yesterday the NFL will be back. They agreed to have a season, so that is obviously some exciting news. I think we all could use some good news at this point.
I think it's going to be crazy to see them mix together because the playoffs is going to mix in with the NFL season. So that's going to be cool to have both sports at the same time.
Yeah, I always say this. October is the best month for sports, and it especially will be this year because baseball is going to have its playoffs and World Series, and then the NBA is going to have the finals, and then NFL will come back. It's like all 3-in-1 and just madness, and it's going to be great. So, Trey, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm glad the season's coming back. I'm glad we're getting football. It's good to see baseball start going, to see who's going to come up on top of that, especially with the shortened schedule, because they already play a lot of games. So that to them, this is like a relief to play not as many games. But just good to have sports back. It's good to talk about them because that's my favorite thing to do is talk and debate sports all day. So just excited.
Yeah, 2020 has been such a crazy year. It's finally to get, you know, I mean, Ben Simmons is shooting threes. Like, what is happening? Like, seriously, Ben Simmons is shooting threes and he made one. Like, this is obviously just been a crazy year. And I'm excited. And, oh yeah, by the way, did you see yesterday, J.R. Smith, man, he's been like having some nasty passes on the Lakers. I saw a play today where it's like LeBron in the fast break. He passed it up to J.R., who then lobbed it up to Dwight Howard. I was like, man, J.R. looks pretty good for being off for a year.
I know. I feel like once you're off for a year, it throws you off. But if you keep up with your workouts and you get back into your regular form, and I know J.R. plays a lot of pickup basketball. Like he just looks like one of those people who just.
Oh, definitely. The league is better. The league is better off when the Henny God is in the league.
Yeah.
the J.R. Smith back in the NBA. So I guess I will do it for our little podcast here. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Solano College Sports Network. For Trey Hunt, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.